to the Chewing Ground podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 23. Today we have a very special guest, but before I introduce you to them, first off, Merry Christmas to everybody. This is going to roll out 3 weeks ahead from when we're filming, or two and a half, which is Christmas time. So I hope everybody has a great Christmas. Please be safe. There's a lot of crazy people out there. And with that being said, before I do introduce our guest, I want to let you guys know that I am rolling out a couple podcasts, a little bit political. I have another candidate also coming in January. We don't have the specific dates yet, but today we have a candidate for the next mayor election in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is actually my hometown. I grew up there for most of my life, so you guys know I have a big tie to Greensboro, and I'm still located right off of Greensboro. And on top of being a candidate, he is also a District 3 representative, which is, if you guys don't know what District 3 is, it's pretty much, let me remember, it's North Greensboro. It's by under the lake, and it's above, it's like friendly battleground. Oh, is it Piskin Church too?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, man, I got it. What's up?
You got it.
All right, everybody, welcome Justin Outling. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Loon, thanks for having me on the show. Yeah.
Dude,
and I'm very impressed that you know the district geography.
I had to do so much research. Trust me, I didn't know that before getting you guys in.
And what's even more admirable, you described it better than I. So,
I don't have as nice of a voice as you, though. You have that, like, Barack Obama, like, perfect voice, like, very soothing.
I'll take it.
Also, when I met you, first thing I said was, you were so tall. You're 6'3"? I mean, 6'4".
Yeah, 6'4", but I have horrible posture, which means that 90% of the folks who see me online or on TV, like you, are crazy surprised by how tall I am. So
that makes a lot of sense. But, I have a photo. I'm using my phone for the camera, though. But there's a picture, and you guys can search this up, especially if you guys are into politics and into Greensboro. But there's a picture of the city council.
Yeah.
And everyone's, like, really short, like, white ladies. And then you got this one, like freaking giraffe.
That's right.
Just popping out. And it's you. And you're in the middle, too. They didn't even put you in the back or front. You're, like, right in the middle.
It's crazy. So your listeners definitely have to check it out, because until recently, I was the only man on council.
Yeah.
And also by far the tallest. So it's like as if you stack two of the other council persons, they would equal my height. It's an insane photo. Insane photo.
Dude, all right. So if for everyone who's listening, this episode is probably going to be an hour long. I have some topics here. I'm going to ask Justin regarding his campaign, his current run with the district, being a District 3 rep. I also have some questions about his life and things like that. So hopefully you guys are interested. And if you guys aren't, I completely understand. Politics. I think it's going to be a fun conversation, and you guys can always tune into the next one. Okay, so let's get into this.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
First off, the elections was supposed to be 2021.
That's right.
Right? And then it got pushed to 2022. So how do you feel about that, having to extend your campaign? Did it cost a lot more?
Yeah, I think it costs some.
Yeah.
So we've been campaigning now for about a year. And so extending the election means more time to campaign, and campaigns cost money. But the reality is more time also means more opportunity to get out there, talk with people, share with them the vision for the city, hear about their thoughts and concerns. And so our campaign team has been out there going door to door, making good use of the additional time, and really sharing with people a vision for a better Greensboro.
Wow. So for those who don't understand, and I'm on the lower end of understanding too, I've only done so much research. When you start a campaign, can anyone start a campaign, first of all? And then what is the first steps into it that you had to do?
Yeah, so to run for mayor of Greensboro, I mean, the requirements are exceedingly low.
Really?
It's kind of consistent with politics generally. So if you're a resident of the city, you live in the city, think you're over 18 and got $75, you can file and run for the mayor of the city. In terms of the campaign itself, I mean, you just start doing it. I imagine it's kind of like if you start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, you just begin by just starting to do it.
There's no actual cookie cutter thing. You just out there do it yourself.
No,
Man,
you
that's
just do it
awesome.
yourself. You pull it together. You work with volunteers.
It's like running a business.
It's that exactly. It's like running a business that you know is going to have an end date.
Wow.
but it's all the same functions. I mean, you have a budget, you got kind of payroll to a degree, you got volunteer coordinators, got 30 different things they have to do. So
isn't that being a mayor as well? It's kind of like you're the CEO of the city.
Yeah, so for many cities, the mayor is like a CEO.
What about Greensboro?
Not in Greensboro and in most cities in North Carolina. And so we have a form of government where the city council is kind of like the board of directors for a company, responsible for setting the vision, high-level oversight, establishing priorities, and setting a budget.
Okay.
But it's our city manager who is like the CEO, the administrator for actually running the day-to-day operations of the city. And so
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, a lot of the cities in the Southeast are with that form. Now, you go to a lot of cities out west in the Northeast, it's completely different. The mayor really is the CEO.
Because I remember doing, upon this interview, I did research, and it was like a San Antonio or something mayor, and they were telling me like, oh, you run the business, you allocate taxes, all that stuff and all that. So if you become mayor, or in general, being a mayor of Greensboro, what are the top like 3-4 like things that you have to do, like responsibilities and roles? Yeah,
so here the mayor has a really, really important function that's unique. On one level, the mayor has one vote on city matters, just like any other council member.
Right.
But the mayor has the tremendous ability and responsibility for doing what's called setting the agenda. That means determining the things that the council works on, by extension, what city staff really works on. And so that's a tremendous, tremendous thing. So if you want to focus on jobs, but the mayor doesn't have work sessions and focus the council on jobs, you're not going to get a whole lot of progress on jobs because your effort isn't going there. Same with regard to crime or any other topic that's really important.
You really have to be personable because you got to be able to get people on your side on whatever topics.
Yeah, you got to be able to get people on your side, but that's the really tremendous thing about the mayor is you're kind of setting the table for what will be discussed and what will be worked on, even if others don't necessarily agree.
Oh, no, I understand that. That's crazy, man. All right, I'm learning a lot, too, because I didn't even know that part of the being a mayor. I want to dive real quick before we get into like the actual campaign stuff. Probably the second half of this whole podcast will be that. I want to get to know more about you, man. So first off, what's your upbringing? Did you come from Greensboro?
No. So, I tell people, like, if I had any part in the decision about where I was born, I would have chosen Greensboro. But obviously, I wasn't.
Great place to be.
I wasn't a part of that intimate decision, and my family really gave birth to me, and I was raised in the early part of my life in Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo, really?
Yeah, rough Buff. Yeah,
cold area to be, man.
Yes. Carolina,
not many things to do.
Yeah, not many things to do. At least during 90% of the time, where it's snow, feet of it on the ground.
Oh man, are you a Bills fan or a Panthers fan?
I'm a child of the 90s. So America's team was the Dallas Cowboys, and my favorite player was Emmitt Smith. So I was definitely not a Bills fan. Nowadays I obviously pull for the Panthers, so they're my team. Although they will make me cry every here and there, including this year.
Oh man, thank God Cam's back though. I'm just a sports fan in general. I follow up on everything. But okay, so you came from Buffalo, and when did you come to Greensboro?
Yeah, so my family moved from Buffalo to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then I finished up high school there. I came to Greensboro for the first time to go to UNC Greensboro.
Wow.
Yeah.
My sister went there. That's awesome, man.
Go Spartans. Spartans. Yeah.
So what high school did you go to in Charlotte?
At the time, it was called ZB Vance.
What is it now?
Now it's been changed to the Julius Chambers High School.
I've heard of it.
The past couple of years, as people have started to focus more on, who are our institutions being named after, what are their legacies, and so it was changed to the name of a civil rights leader, Julius Chambers.
Gotcha. One day we'll have a Justin Outling High School here.
I don't know about that, but
all right. So then so you went to, let me remember my research. So you went to UNCG for poli-sci.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And then after that, you went into law school at Duke.
Yeah. So I'm a Blue Devil.
Dude, that's like one of the most prestigious law schools. How did you make it into that? What was your GPA like?
It was good. It was strong. It was strong. But I think the reason, or one of the kind of significant ways I was able to make it there, I met the love of my life and my wife Cora our freshman year at UNC Greensboro. So
wow.
She provided a lot of support, a lot of encouragement. Giving me the pat on the back to go study in Jackson Library at UNCG, and was blessed enough to do well in undergraduate school, do pretty well on the LSAT, and attended Duke, and got to actually be in Cameron Indoor Stadium and actually watch some Duke basketball games. Probably the given how expensive those tickets are, probably the only opportunity I'll have for a long time.
And also, I mean, it's Coach K's last year, so it's the fact that you've been able to see it. That's amazing. I never got to see a game. I was a Tar Heel fan growing up, but I respect him so much.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit nervous with this campaign because election for the primary will be March 8th, and I tell people, that's March Madness. So I tell people, I'm good. I'm not obnoxious until we get to be in March. Right. So I have to account for I'm going to be losing X number of votes in March because my obnoxiousness level will just go to 1,000. So,
real quick tangent. UNCG is pretty good at basketball nowadays too. They're making it into the tournament. I've noticed that.
Yeah. Our Spartans are doing well, man. They're doing well.
We had a kid from high school that played there just a couple years ago, but he was point guard there, but who knows? I went to Western Guilford off. Yeah.
Nice. See, the thing I remember when I was in high school, so after I graduated, our high school team got pretty good, and they were in the state championship or whatever, but they were playing Chris Paul's team.
Oh, dude, done. Oh, yeah, you said that you're 38, right?
Yeah,
so that's around that time period.
Yeah, and Chris Paul, I mean, we had a good team. Chris Paul was watching Magic Johnson play a bunch of little kids. I mean, he was...
There's a crazy story about him, too, where his grandpa passed away and during his high school career, right? Mm-hmm. And because of that, I think he dropped the exact amount of buckets for his born year or whatever. And then he missed a free throw, and it was 60 something points or something, or how old he was, I think, which is absolutely insane. We've had some great athletes, some great people in general come out of Greensboro and this whole area. So going after that, what made you decide to dive into politics, that whole side of everything, District 3 back in 2017?
Yeah, really just our desire to serve in a bigger way in our community.
Yeah.
So after law school, my wife and I came back to Greensboro for a year where I worked for a federal judge, essentially in a 1-year job. Then we moved to New York, and we said we really want to come back to Greensboro.
Wow.
If one of us get a decent paying job, and not a good job, but decent, we can make ends, get close enough to meeting, we're going to move back. And we did that with the real goal of just getting more active and trying to make a community a little bit better for our own family, including our young children. And I started just throwing myself into community life, joining boards and commissions, doing service work. And one of those things was a city commission responsible for really enforcing the city's laws around housing, making sure it wasn't dilapidated and in substandard condition. And ultimately, I chaired that group, did amazing, terrific work with other volunteers, but saw that you could do unique things as a council person because you could actually help develop and change the laws and rules of the road. And so it was really that desire to serve the community and create structural change that not only helps a couple dozen people or 2 or 3 people, it helps hundreds and thousands of people. That's really what animated my desire to serve on city council, and I've been blessed to do it for the past 6 years.
Dude, I love that. And this is also serving proof of why I can never run, because you speak so much better than me. I was listening to you. I got lost in the word. It's like watching Mozart's art. You're just kind of like, what's going on? Okay. I get it. Yeah,
well, Lou, I wish my words had that effect on my wife. I mean, it's like, I'm going to send her a clip of the podcast. You're like,
Cora,
what?
I hope you're listening to this. Her name's Cora, right?
That's right.
All right. So after law school, all that stuff, and in this period, you learned how you found the desire to help your community. While you were doing law, what type of law were you practicing? or
Yes, I'm a business litigator, so I represent companies and professionals in different.
Wow, that was my least favorite
types.
class.
Yeah,
Business law.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's much like being a council member in that it's about advocacy and moving the ball forward.
Wow.
And so I represent companies and professionals in different types of lawsuits. I've also done a significant amount of pro bono work, not business related, including while I was in New York helping out a couple of women who were victims of human trafficking.
No way.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's like the crazy. Whoa, that's a lot.
Crazy.
That's
crazy.
a lot. Why'd you leave New York? Sorry.
Yeah, I loved the law firm at which I was working with really some of the best attorneys in the country, brilliant legal minds.
It's New York.
But it's in New York, and I didn't love New York.
Yeah. Was it in the city?
Yeah, my wife and I we lived in Brooklyn, and then we moved to Jersey City across the Hudson, and had great experience, but it just wasn't home. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And I tell people, like, New York is one of those places where, in my view, to live there and to enjoy it, you need two things, and you need both.
Yeah.
You have to have both time and you have to have money.
Yes.
If you have only one of those things, at least for me, it's not an enjoyable place to live.
I agree.
And so, desire to get closer to family, kind of be a more integral part of our community.
Yeah, I think a lot of people listening to this that isn't from North Carolina. I think North Carolina is one of the most underrated states.
For sure.
Because I travel a lot, and for my food tours, things like that, I just recently went to Europe, 5 different cities, and yet no matter how fun and how beautiful everything is, you're always like, you know what, I miss just being at home, just chilling.
Yeah.
It's a good pace because Greensboro is like big enough to be a city. We're in the top 60, I think, top 60 biggest cities population. But at the same time, it's slow enough to where you can get your own privacy and do your own thing, have land if you need it. Which is like so hard to find.
Yeah, and that's a unique and wonderful thing about Greensboro. I mean, you have all of the things that make being in larger cities attractive. You got a great food scene, you got theater, you got all of those terrific things. But you also have like no commute time. You go from one end of the city to the other in 20 minutes. Yeah. Even when you're, kind of early on in your, work life, you have a shot at buying a home and, all those wonderful things. So
my girlfriend hates how much I love Greensboro. Like, I'm such an advocate. That's why I made it out a plan. And I remember from day one that I started my podcast, I actually started planning the podcast like way before. I planned it months before I actually started. And one of my first things was like, okay, I want to get athletes on here. Yeah. That was like one of my first. And then after that, I was like, I want to get the mayor. Yeah. And then eventually maybe even more. But I wanted to talk to Greensboro specifically because I have such a big tie to Greensboro because we came over here from refugees, all that stuff, classic story. I was born in Vietnam, but I came to High Point first. Okay. And then Greensboro when I was 2. And I had lived there up until college, which is like 18. So I knew all about it. And you mentioned how our food scene. Speaking of that, what's your favorite restaurant? Shout out to them, whoever it is. It's a hard one.
Lots of really terrific places. One of our favorite places recently closed, 1618 downtown.
That closed?
Yeah. So then they still have 1618, the seafood restaurant, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, they have good oysters.
But 1618 downtown was just one of our favorite spots. It had a great location. The food was phenomenal. It was kind of right at that perfect place of like it's nice, but it's not pretentious. Yes. It's amazing. It's amazing food, but it's not expensive. So 1618 downtown definitely was the top of our list.
But I wonder if COVID hit them. Is that why?
I don't know. It's a restaurant business. So a lot of them closed for lots of different reasons. But really there's so many great restaurants
there is.
across the city.
I'm a Dame's guy. I like Dame's chicken and waffles. Classic. Like Chez Guinness. It's a French restaurant.
Yeah, on Elm Street.
I know the owner. She's very sweet. A lot of restaurants out there. But all right, now let's get into the politics. Yeah. All right, let's start with the District 3. So in 2017, I believe, right? You ran? Okay, so you ran for District 3, which is, again, I mentioned from Lake Brant all the way down to Piskin and Friendly, that whole battleground area. First off, I want to say, what an area to watch. That's like the most beautiful area of Greensboro right there, dude. Are you kidding me? That's like if you look at the houses on Zillow or something, you're like, dude, there's no way I'm touching those. how did you win? And not even taking politics aside, okay? That area is predominantly a white area. Being straight up, like me growing up, I knew that was like, so I was shocked to find out that you were watching that area, not even politics aside, just being realistic. How did you sway the votes, man? How did you get this?
So really interesting story. It started before then in 2015.
Wow.
And so I was, looking to run for city council, really starting to build a campaign, talking with people.
Yeah.
And the person who represented the district left to essentially be the head of a booster group for our downtown, downtown Greensboro, Inc. And so all of a sudden, lots of community members started reaching out to council members, encouraging them to appoint me.
Wow.
Part of the rub, though, was that the district had always been represented by a Republican. I'm Democrat.
Oh, yeah.
Although it's a nonpartisan race. And then had always been represented by a white person.
Yep.
And I'm a 6'4" black man, 250
the opposite.
plus. The opposite. So the council, it became clear, was really strongly consider appointing me. And it was amazing at the time, like now, things were so political. Republicans in Raleigh were getting involved, trying to encourage council members not to appoint me, threatening council members, contacting folks at my law firm, and I was an associate at the time, pressuring them to fire me from my job.
What?
Totally. And you're talking about an appointment for 6 months on a city council outside of Raleigh, obviously.
House of cards, man.
Yeah. But, I was blessed in that I was appointed by the city council to serve in that role, campaigned really hard. And we were the first in the city's history district representative to represent a district where, racially it didn't match the representative. So it's a real testament to, I think, the progress that we've seen in our community.
Yeah.
And really, I can't say enough about the team that helped make that happen with our campaign.
And you didn't even just win. I mean, you can be humble. This dude smacked like the competition. It was like, I think it was 70-something%. Is what I saw.
Yeah, and I will tell you in all candor, I wasn't expecting it. At the time, it's like I said, it's always been represented by a Republican. No Democrat even ran. We're running against the person who was the former head of the local Republican Party.
Right.
On one hand, the other guy was the darling of this like conservative Tea Party group. And so, we ran a really good campaign and worked really hard at it. And I think the message and the vision in the district really caught fire, and we were able to win a pretty, unprecedented election.
Wow, that's awesome, man. All right, now let's go. We're going to slowly move through the timeline. Now we're up to when you've already been appointed District 3 rep, and then you're in these council, the city council. First off, how often does the city council meet, just for my knowledge?
Yeah, it meets generally 2 times a month.
Okay.
Now it's starting to get closer to elections, so we're meeting with greater frequency than we met before.
And you're also running. Do you know how many people are running?
Not yet. So filing hasn't opened and won't open until Monday, actually. So later this month we'll know. But right now it's an open question.
Okay, and by the time that this is out, you guys will already know.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you were on city council, what was a major law, tax, or any change in Greensboro that you guys had to enact, or be a part of?
Yes. So many great things, including many of which I really was blessed to lead on and work with others to get done.
Yeah. Just one example.
Yeah. One example, kind of stemming from my volunteer work, is on housing. I mean, Loon, I'll tell you, the conditions of some of the homes in our community that children live in, really affects you profoundly.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of sadness.
Oh, yeah. We came from the bottom, so we know.
And you're talking about just completely dangerous. And before, relatively recently, when a property was in horrible condition and the owner of the property wasn't fixing it, the city was left with 2 really bad options. It either demolished the property, which gets rid of property, puts a gap in the community, and really oftentimes gets rid of the opportunity for affordable housing. Alternatively, if the owner wouldn't fix it, it would just sit there and be a blight on the community, dragging it down in dangerous condition. shortly after I joined the council, working with others, including stakeholders in different groups, created a third way to where the city could make repairs directly to the property.
Wow.
Bring it up to condition, but also get, what's called a first priority lien on the property, such that the city has a way to recoup the costs of repairing the property, which results in more, healthy housing. And there's situations in which even the city just having the ability to do that costs some bad owners to sell their property to others and result in a lot more good quality, affordable housing. So it's a really major thing that we did that really resulted in kids in our community being in safer, better, affordable housing, and not really the city having to spend terribly much money to get it.
Yeah, I've noticed that although we're a big city, I have noticed that in the last few years, the crime rate has gone a little bit down. I've noticed it personally from me, because my parents still live in well, now I guess the area is a lot better. It's by Four Seasons, like 5-10 minutes. It's a lot better than it was before when I was growing up.
Now, I will say it's interesting though, because it varies by location a lot, because over the course of the past 5 years, the violent crime in Greensboro is off of the charts.
Yeah.
I mean, we're now the 8th most dangerous city in the entirety.
Right now?
Right now.
I didn't even know that.
Most dangerous in the entirety of the United States. We are number one in our
I retract my statement.
Really the murder capital in North Carolina. But, to your comment, Loon, it really varies by area, because there are some areas where there's almost no crime occurring. Yeah. And there are others where, hearing gunshots feels like
downtown.
It's like a...
By those $60,000 houses.
Yeah. My goodness, yeah. But it really varies.
Who watches that district? The whole, downtown?
Downtown, it varies. And Martin Luther area, that's District 1.
Okay.
And so that's represented by another person. The downtown itself is probably 70% in the district I represent.
Really?
Yeah.
So you go from downtown all the way up?
Pretty much.
Whoa.
So there's some railroad tracks that kind of separate South Elm.
Yeah.
That's in a different district.
Is that by Boxcar or which railroad track?
Yeah. So the ones that are a little bit further up north on Elm Street.
Got it.
That's kind of the border of my district, but where there's generally the office towers and the like, and most of the happening downtown. That's in District 3.
So you have a big district.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah,
it's pretty big.
A lot bigger than I thought it was. Okay, let's get into the nitty gritty, the fun stuff. All right, so your mayoral run of 2022.
Yeah.
First off, what is the biggest thing that you want to convey to any listener out here with your campaign?
Yeah,
before we get into the details.
Biggest thing, it takes leadership to close the gap between potential and reality.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I characterize the mayor's position as being like the quarterback on a football team. Like, if you got a great quarterback, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win.
But it's going to help.
It's going to help, but it's going to guarantee you're going to lose if you don't have an effective quarterback.
That's true.
I mean, you still need a good offensive line. You still got to have the city infrastructure. You got to have wide receivers that know how to catch the ball. You got to have intellectual capital in some colleges and universities. But if you don't have someone that's helping to pull things together and can throw the ball and get it to where it needs to go, and that effective leadership,
Tom Brady's,
exactly. Cam Newton, most of the time.
I gotcha. Wait, so all right, so this mayoral run. First off, I want to talk about what made you decide I'm done. I'm moving on from District 3 rep, and I want to run for the mayor.
Well, seeing the need in our community for that effective leadership in the mayor's position.
Gotcha.
Specifically, I know, certainly I and others on council have worked really, really hard on the most important things that are really keeping our community back from reaching its potential, especially violent crime and with regard to economic development. But having that vantage point, I have come to really deeply understand the ability to set the agenda and to focus the council and bring community together in the role of the mayor, in addition to having the bully pulpit. you got to have that really effective leadership in that position to help the city reach its potential. And so while individual council members can do really terrific things like the housing related work that I have done and some really terrific things that I've been blessed to be a part of with regard to police and public safety, it's not enough. And to really get there, you have to have that next level of effective leadership.
Do you have like a kind of like a loose plan set ready?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, more than loose.
Any details on it that I'm allowed to?
Yeah. So, I mean, it really starts with having a vision for a much more prosperous, safe community.
With housing?
It's with housing, but it's really especially with regard to economic development in public safety.
Do you think that this is just actually talking? Like, do you think this is mostly done, the funding, the economic development through taxes, or is it done through, like, how are we going to get to this point?
Yeah, it's really having a vision, having discipline and focus. And so, like any city, there are going to be jobs that come and jobs that go.
Right.
But Greensboro has experienced a really tremendous amount of job loss. Starting in the 1990s, we lost about 90,000 jobs in a 12-year period. What's really significant, though, is other cities across North Carolina and across our country have experienced similar situations, manufacturing jobs disappearing, going overseas. But the successful communities like a Durham, North Carolina, like a Winston-Salem, North Carolina, they have used their unique assets to propel their growth forward. Greensboro, we have assets that are as strong, if not stronger, but we don't really focus and leverage those assets to move our community forward.
Do you think Greensboro would be better if we focused on the manufacturing side, textile side? Because I know we have the textile area, or should we innovate and go into the tech, the other, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a little bit of both, but it's predominantly the latter. We need to focus on innovation.
I think so too.
And we have the assets to do it.
Yeah.
Greensboro is blessed. We have the largest HBCU, historically black college or university in the country. And it has a really amazing engineering school.
I know, which is crazy that we don't really have because I know if you hear about Raleigh, they have the whole Apple and the all the campuses coming there. I think Microsoft, or I don't know all the details. Yeah. But and there's a Triangle Tech Town. And then I think about Greensboro, and I was like, man, we're a big city. We can do this.
Yeah.
We got to figure out.
Yeah. And it's, the vision is you use that amazing asset, that resource to really propel your growth forward.
Yeah.
And it's something that other communities have done that were in really more dire circumstances than Greensboro. So for example, you look at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Years ago, they focused on innovation around their colleges and universities, Carnegie Mellon and the University of Pittsburgh. They created innovation districts, something we don't have but should have, and it's really set their community on fire in terms of growth and economic development. Their innovation district has about 10% of their population lives there, 30% of the jobs. Wow. Pittsburgh is one of the best places in the world now for artificial intelligence and automation with regard to vehicles. We can do the same things in Greensboro, but first it takes having that vision, and then it needs to have the effective leadership and discipline to pull it all together and make it happen.
And the connections too, because you have to pull them in here. Yeah. So I want to ask you this, because I was really curious. I saw that picture of you and the whole city council, right? You're running against someone that's in the city council, as in the current mayor. Also, Nancy is coming on the podcast in January. That's who I'm bringing in. How is it? Is there tension? How? What's the dynamic there? Because you're gonna have to meet her and be like, "Yeah, I'm running against you."
Yeah. I mean, it's I tell people I'm running for mayor. I'm not running against anyone else. And so it's really about having a vision for our community and really demonstrating, really looking at past conduct, the ability to actually get those things done and realize a vision that closes the gap between our potential and our reality.
Okay.
So, for me, I focus on the vision and communicating with people about how we're going to get there and how it takes that unique focused leadership to actually do it. You do more of the same, you get the same. We can do better, and so I'm sharing a vision of that and how we get there.
Would you agree with this statement? And you could say no. Do you think that Greensboro previously, under whatever leadership or whatever, was more stagnant? Is that what you're trying to convey?
For sure.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, if you look
Not
at
down, not up. Just
it's stagnant. I mean, it's you look at the job growth or lack thereof of a Greensboro as compared to Raleigh. Charlotte, Durham, Winston-Salem.
I didn't even know about Winston.
Over the course of the past decade, the numbers speak for themselves. And, we're not literally the bottom of the barrel. Every city that is a city, quite frankly, anywhere in this country that's not a rural area has experienced some gains in population, has experienced some economic development growth. But you look at where we should be versus where we are, and we just have a lot of room to catch up and close the gap between, where we are and where our peers are.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah. So under your leadership, what's your, if you got the role of mayor, how will things be most different in your ideal, if you could get everything that you wanted, obviously innovation, obviously housing, how do you think, just general description, how do you think things will be different in the city of Greensboro?
Yeah, it'll be focused and collaborative. So for the really important things, as opposed to, for example, 2019 we had a record number of homicides. 2020 we had another record number of homicides.
COVID.
We as a city council met twice to discuss violent crime. Once at the beginning of the year in 2020, once at the end of the year.
Wow.
If you're not working at it, you're not going to see progress.
Right.
And so I'll provide the leadership that actually focuses on those important things, meeting every single month, not only to discuss what are the plans and have some vision for that, but actually make sure that we're closing the gap and seeing real progress. But if you're not even trying, you're not going to have success. And Greensboro, quite frankly, whether it's through people's lived experience or otherwise, we can't afford not to be working at those things.
Do you think, since you've talked so much about the housing, right? And this is good for a lot of people who are listening that is from Greensboro. What do you think the predictions are in terms of the housing market specifically with Greensboro? Do you think the prices are just going to keep skyrocketing? What's the game plan?
I wish I had a crystal ball, man.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
It's a hard one.
I think prices will kind of continue to escalate some, but they'll kind of flatten out. I mean, the pace of the growth for the past year or so, that I don't see how that's
I'm trying to buy a house, man. No, I seriously am.
Who's going to be able to afford a house in 10 years if the pace keeps up what it is right now? But I think what's really important as a community is that we lock in and understand we have a real affordability crisis in Greensboro, because the escalation in the prices far outpace escalation in wages that people are experiencing in our community. And even before prices started to get really crazy, you have over a third of the city that's paying over 30% of their wages and their income on housing.
Right.
Which means that they're struggling to eat and get clothes on, their families' backs. And so, those are the types of things where you have to have an understanding of where the community is at present, and the issues that we have to address now, so that we're not looking at a tsunami of evictions and homelessness in the next 5-10 years.
Wow, man, it's a lot of interesting. It's sitting in my head. I'm just thinking about okay, where can we go from here?
Yeah.
'Cause I still consider myself a Greensboro native. So, do you think? So when you're in the mayor position, how much power do you have over taxes specifically?
Yeah, so it's, as a member of city council, we can set the tax rate, the whole council. Okay. So there's currently 9 members, and so whatever 5 members vote to do, that's what happens. But the mayor's influence, though, is beyond just a voting member, because the mayor has what's referred to as the bully pulpit. When the mayor says something, that's essentially the starting point for community discussion, and it has a great ability to influence the direction.
I see.
That the city may take.
I see. Okay, so with that, Okay, so all this money that you guys are able to allocate and use for whatever innovation, whatever goals that you guys have, whether it's a representative or anyone in council as a whole, is most of it coming from our taxes, or is it like also from what is like the sports or like, anything?
Yeah. Great question. It comes from a combination of it. So
Okay.
a lot of it comes from the property taxes that folks pay.
That makes sense.
On their properties, but we get some from sales tax. We get some from essentially tourism-related taxes.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Some from fees. So think you pay water, sewer fees.
Yeah, those parking tickets. No,
parking tickets, although we don't do a terribly great job at collecting on those things. But yeah, it's from a whole host of different things.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, man, I guess I didn't realize how Greensboro has became a crime city. Because when I was growing up, it was, and then I thought for a period that it wasn't because my parents didn't really hear anything.
Yeah.
And wow, that's crazy, man. Where did you what area did you stay in? When you just stayed around campus when you lived in?
Yeah, so I lived on campus at UNC Greensboro, then moved off campus and lived essentially in the kind of area around the campus. And then when my wife and I moved back for a year after law school, we lived right outside downtown, but it did not look the way it looks now.
Yeah.
And so it was
It's pretty rough.
it was kind of a ghost town, and when it hit 5 o'clock, you would swear that tumbleweeds were like going down Elm Street.
Wow.
But yeah, we've lived different places around the city.
And that area is really fascinating to me because it's broken into so many, like so first of all, there's a division between the A&T area and the UNCG area.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, you also have probably some of the best food and most fun areas, but then you also have like the most impoverished areas.
Yeah.
And then you have college students. So you're just like, what is going on in this mix? Man, yeah, I think the idea of the housing is really smart. We do need to focus on that, and also innovation for sure. If we can get some type of company, like more companies into here, the newer ones here to stay, it'll bring a lot more income. It'll bring a lot more jobs too.
Yeah, and we got to create an environment that prioritizes innovation. I mean, the reality is, part of it, companies will come, but that's a byproduct of the things that you actually do. And so we need to create a place where companies understand we're not just coming to Greensboro for the low cost of living or because Greensboro happens to be close to a lot of land that's available and we can place a factory here. It's no, we need to come to Greensboro because Greensboro is a place where we're going to have the intellectual capital that we need to make more money and grow our money faster.
Speaking of that, I was listening to a podcast recently. It was a Joe Rogan one with Jocko Willink, which is this Navy SEAL guy, right?
Jocko,
Yeah. So he owns a company, and he was talking about why American made needs to come back, like manufacturer, of course, and with the innovations and stuff. But he was also talking about why Texas, I think it was Texas, or it might have been another one, and North Carolina was such a great place for American-made stuff because of like labor, all that, everything.
Oh, sure.
And we need to supply more jobs. Yeah. And now specifically, the hard part for us, I think, is how do we get people to not only go to Raleigh and Charlotte, but also Greensboro, and not forget about Greensboro.
Yeah, that's right. And I think if I'm recalling correctly, Jocko, he and his business partner actually purchased a clothing manufacturer in Asheboro.
Yep.
And I know this because my wife, until very recently, was the head of product development for that clothing manufacturer. Yeah, so definitely a small world. And
that is small.
And it's exactly that. We need to do those things, and obviously North Carolina and Greensboro has a lot to sell, but it's important to always be looking forward.
Yeah.
And so it's not just manufacturing, it's advanced manufacturing and innovation, recognizing that there's the issue of we need to make sure that people have jobs now, but we also have to build our economy for the future to make sure that it's not a situation in which one company decides to up and leave and our community collapses. We have lots of different small businesses that are thriving. We have a magnet for development. using our unique assets like North Carolina A&T and the culture that we've built around innovation and entrepreneurship.
Dude, I have thought about this for so long, and now that you bring it up, man, I'm confused as to why we haven't tapped into A&T yet. A&T is such an underrated school. And I know, like, okay, if you ask the common person, what's A&T? They're going to be like engineering and predominantly black school, right?
Yeah.
And even though that is like somewhat true, my cousin went there, my godbrother went there for engineering, and they're Asian, so it's like there's a chance you can get in there without. But what I'm pointing towards is why don't we need to have some type of program where they can just, once they're done, they can just work here, and because there needs to be more jobs for them.
So true, and that's
engineering,
and that's where the leadership makes a really big difference. You have to have a vision that says North Carolina A&T need to be a top 10 engineering school in the country, recognized as a top 10 engineering school in the country.
It is. It's just not recognized.
Period. And so as a community, we have to prioritize and make that vision a reality.
Yeah.
With additional infrastructure and community development around the campus.
Yeah.
We need to be creating environments in which graduates stay here. We support them with additional entrepreneur supports like daycare and so on and so forth.
Just anything.
And those are the things that, like I said, cities like Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon have done. We just haven't had the leadership to pull that together, but we can.
Yeah, well,
we should.
And we have a neighbor that is doing something similar, and it has been for a long time with NC State and the whole triangle.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of the engineers just stay there, and I mean, unless they get a job somewhere else. But yeah, so man, there's so much potential. What do you think is so obviously A&T, engineering. Yeah, that's the thing. What about UNCG? What do you think is the industry that we can keep UNCG students with?
Yeah, my alma mater. Yeah, UNCG I think has a ton of potential as well.
What department do you think most?
UNCG does so much well. And so one of the areas in which I know that they're starting to focus more, and they've got some really good funding news, including this week, is around esports.
Really?
Esports. UNCG is building an esports arena. They're developing a program and curriculum around it. And I will tell you, I have not really been a gamer for the last 20 years, but it is.
You go to school for this?
It's big business now, and it's becoming even bigger. And so UNCG is looking forward in developing curricula around that, and it's really, really exciting. It's also getting into more data-related things. So think about data centers and information management, in addition to kind of the really strong programs that it has, obviously, in the arts, in education, where it's a top school, in nursing, where it's a top school. So there's just so much potential, especially around the colleges and universities. Although I didn't go there, obviously, I think A&T is like the special, really unique thing.
Yeah.
But, including UNCG and our other colleges and universities as well.
Yeah. Shout out to J.R. Smith. He's now lives in.
I know.
Yeah, that's like the craziest thing. I've been trying to get his wife on the podcast because she just wrote a book. And I really
didn't know that.
She wrote a book for actually black women who are pregnant. It's like such a specific niche, but I wanted to get her on. So man, okay. How much does the city council have an involvement for infrastructure, like roads, things like that?
Huge.
So it does. Okay,
huge.
I didn't know because.
Huge.
Okay, so does that trickle down from like Biden's infrastructure bill or?
Yeah. So the city, I mean, pretty much every city across the country is going to be the beneficiary and receive a significant amount of money from the federal government for infrastructure projects. And so, some of the money will come through the state. Some roads and infrastructure in the city are actually owned by the state. But, a really huge portion of them are owned and managed by the city of Greensboro, and the city will have the opportunity to make some infrastructure decisions, hopefully with some additional infrastructure funds.
So if you became mayor, what do you think is the biggest focus on infrastructure? Like, is it just housing or is it like roads or what are we going with?
Yeah. So obviously you got to maintain the infrastructure itself that exists. We have bridges and roads that need to be repaired.
Oh my God, yes.
But, really where our community has an opportunity to really propel itself forward, if it has the leadership, the focus, and the discipline, are using those resources around a vision for more jobs.
Right.
So again, like infrastructure decisions. You're going to do things across the city, but we're going to prioritize the area around North Carolina A&T because that's a unique opportunity to drive economic growth and prosperity in our community, not just for the next 5-10 years, for the next 5 or 10 decades plus. And so for me as mayor, it will be looking at things really strategically and not falling into, I think, the hazard and the thing that our community has done, largely the past many years to date, which is spread resources, really, really wide, but like an inch deep, and not have really terribly much impact. You sprinkle some money over here.
Do you think that's one of the biggest problems with the last leadership, or just in general?
It's a huge problem in our community. If you even look at where we're starting to go with American Rescue Plan funds. So think the federal government passed laws and additional funding flowing from the COVID crisis, and our community has received over $50 million.
Wow.
And this is outside of our budget. So it's the equivalent of, finding, $5,000, in your couch cushion that you didn't even place there. I mean,
where was that allocated in the previous leadership?
Yeah. And right now it's unallocated, but it's been open season for different groups and persons to essentially come to the city begging it to give it money, as opposed to having a process that says, we're going to spend money on these areas. We're going to spend money.
Don't ask the people for that.
Or they can make applications, but it should be around an actual vision and priorities.
Yeah.
We're going to spend money on innovation.
Yeah.
We're going to spend money on transportation, and we have a huge need around public transportation here.
Which specifically, buses or?
Yeah, especially buses and public transportation.
Okay.
I mean, we have a huge fiscal cliff that's going to hit the city in the next several years.
Wow.
Or even to keep what is our, I won't say substandard, but our public transportation buses that need improvement, we're going to have to contribute, several $1 million a year just to keep the levels that are inadequate now.
Oh man, wow.
But instead of really being focused and strategic in doing those things, it's been open season and creates an environment in which it's going to look, regrettably, I think it's going to look a lot like pork barrel politics going into an election year.
Has any of that been already set in motion? Like any of the?
Yeah, it's been set in motion in terms of the applications that we've received. And when you look at other communities, it's very strategic.
Right.
Here are our goals. We're sharing with you, community, the vision that we have in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And if you seek funding, you explain how what you're looking to do fits in with our vision, as opposed to someone who submits an application, is relatively well connected, and they're able to play the politics that results in them getting something, but our community not reaching its potential and being the best stewards that we can of the resources, and not using the resources in a way that can really transform our community like they otherwise would.
Okay, so you mentioned this earlier, especially with North Carolina systems. The city manager and the mayoral, right?
Yeah.
Which one would you say is president and which one would you say is vice president of the city council?
Yeah. I would say the mayor would be the president and the city manager would be the vice president.
Okay.
The city manager reports to the city council. And so that's, that's determining whether the city manager continues to be employed. Additionally, it's the mayor with the city council that really sets the vision and really sets the standard. And so it's definitely the mayor is at the top of that hierarchy.
Two questions, real quick. How long is there a maximum for how many years you can serve as mayor?
There is not. There is not. And so I think the current mayor has, I think served about a decade or so and been on the council.
She's going again too.
14, 16 years or something like that. And so we don't have any term limits for our city council or for our mayor position.
Interesting. And now the other one that's kind of tied to that is, okay, so if the job of a mayor, especially in Greensboro as a whole, that's a full-time position. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, so, in terms of time.
So would you still be practicing law or?
Yeah, I'll continue to practice law as I do now. The mayor and city council positions, they are part-time positions in name and in
I know city council was, but
and it's the same with regard to the mayor, because like city council members, again, it's not the mayor, it's the city manager that's managing the day-to-day operations.
Is that a full-time job?
That is. But the mayor, along with all city council members, puts in far in excess of 40 hours a week if they're doing the job well. Yeah. And so, I would continue doing that.
When are you going to sleep?
Gosh, man.
What's your sleep like now?
At some point, I will pass away.
What's your sleep like now, man?
Yeah, I don't do much of it. I do. I'm blessed enough to not require terribly much sleep and able to work pretty hard.
You drink coffee?
No, I don't drink coffee, but I drink Diet Coke.
I drink coffee, but
Diet Coke. Diet Coke's
Diet Coke's
my
not
drink.
that much caffeine though. It's like 50.
But it probably depends on how many you drink in a day.
Oh, so you drink a lot.
Yeah, I drink more than I should. My liver will pay. Will pay.
And I was gonna make a comment, but not in a derogatory way at all. But it reminded me of Trump, how he has a Diet Coke button.
Man.
He had a Diet Coke button. Apparently, I don't actually know. When he's a mayor, he's gonna need a Diet Coke button. We're gonna get him. Have to contact someone.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. That's pretty much all the topics that I definitely want to dive into. Yeah. So just for this last 5-10 minutes, we can just kind of talk about whatever and just go off from here.
Good.
So man, you've been running this campaign for a year, man. How taxing is that to your body?
It's been taxing, but I will tell you, the response has been nothing short of amazing. Yeah. Nothing short of amazing. We have amazing volunteers.
Right.
Both in terms of what they bring to the campaign as well as just the raw amount of work they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm talking knocking on doors, making calls.
This is all voluntary.
Organizing events, all volunteers.
Wow.
And it's been nothing short of amazing. And the response from the community thus far has been really terrific as well. We've been really fortunate to have more contributors to our campaign than any mayor, city council candidate in the city's history. More donations under $50 than any campaign in the city's history. Wow. So it's just been an amazing response. Please do.
I will.
Voteoutling.com. Voteoutling.com.
I'll do it for you, and if I like Nancy, I'll do it for her too, just for everybody. So all right, so this kind of just popped up in my head. So campaigning and all this side of politics and stuff. Not talking about volunteer side and that stuff, but actual specific politics between you, other people running, and Republicans that don't want you in office and all that stuff. Yeah. How dirty does it get ever? You hear stuff online.
Yeah. It's at times it gets amazingly dirty.
People really want power, huh?
Yeah. Even when I got on the council and was looking to be appointed, people literally, making efforts to go after and get me fired from my job as an attorney. Just really insane things that happens. But, I look at it as, that's the reality and that's the price you have to pay to get the opportunity to serve our community. But I've just been, I can't complain. I've just been very fortunate in terms of the breadth and depth of support. So I'm going to be the last person to complain about it.
Have you ever seen House of Cards?
Of course.
Okay.
Except the last season,
I didn't watch the last
out.
2
I couldn't make it through the last season.
Yeah.
But before then, was it the knock on the desk?
Oh my God.
That was my thing, man.
No, the first 2 seasons were amazing.
Yeah.
First season was crazy.
Yeah.
What other shows do you like?
And so there was another good show, politics. It was called, I think, Gotham with Kelsey Grammer.
I heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Oh, I will tell you, that man can act.
Really?
It is amazing. I think I liked it. It was on for fewer seasons than House of Cards, but I think it was actually better than House of Cards. Absolutely amazing.
House of Cards has been, to this day, the only political show that I've actually dove into. I never got into, what is it? Whatever wing.
West Wing?
West Wing.
I could never get into it either. Yeah.
Can't get into a lot of those shows anymore. I don't know why. I like politics in shows, but not American politics. You know what I'm saying? Like Game of Thrones and like that stuff, that kind of
Now,
politics.
did you watch Parks and Rec?
Oh, I love. Wait, that does count. All right, that's true city council right there.
That's like real city council stuff. Yeah.
Wait, who was the mayor in that position?
Oh gosh, I forget the character names.
Yeah, but I know Ron Swanson was like, I guess he was the city manager.
Yeah, he'd be like the manager. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that is
yeah.
hilarious.
And I remember they had an episode where they had people coming to speak before like the body.
Oh my God.
And like they come and say the most insane, crazy things, the
Oh,
rants.
that's so funny.
And like sometimes as a council member, you were like, literally, you could take this person's speech and put it right into an episode of Parks and Rec. So.
Oh wait, did you guys have a Yeah, you guys, the city council has all to do with COVID restrictions and everything like that, right?
Yes. Some. It's been an interesting thing. There's that's primarily been done by Guilford County. But
so it's county.
In the politics of things, there's often situations in which people don't recognize that. Folks give impressions as if they're making the decisions when it's something that's in their political interest to suggest as much. So it's, going to the
that's
politics
common though.
aspects of things.
Yeah, that's common with all politics, even all the way up to Biden.
Yeah, it's I would tell you, someone who, comes to, serving our community, I have a love for the community and more kind of in business as opposed to having aspirations to be a politician. It is absolutely head scratching and maddening. It's, it's very situational. Like when we think it's going to be in a benefit for people to think that we have control, we suggest to them that we have control. And when not, we kind of point the finger at somebody else.
So the county looks over.
That's right. That's right. And so the county's responsible for public health at certain points, essentially for like a week.
Yeah, I've worked with them.
When it was already kind of on the radar that the governor was going to put in his own order. The city at one point had a very limited order with regard to masks. But other than that, the orders were all county orders.
How do you feel about masks? Just like aside from all this,
for me, it's just throw it on. It's a relatively minor inconvenience for me personally, but I also recognize that's me. And there are some people, it's a much bigger deal.
I always it's almost like a flip of a coin. When I'm like going to a Walmart or something, I'm like, do I wear a mask today? It's like, how am I feeling? Because I'm vaxxed and like I don't know.
So Luna, I was telling someone earlier this week, like now it's an interesting dynamic because, I tend to wear my mask in different places, just wanting to be respectful of the possibility that some people just may not be comfortable. But I've also noticed that some people, if you don't know them, they'll assume that you're wearing your mask because you're not vaxxed, which makes them more uncomfortable. So it's, looking forward to the end of COVID, and hopefully people will get their vaccine shots and we can get there sooner. Yeah,
so I live in Burlington now for the last, I think, 3 years. But one of our businesses is in Greensboro, so I'm constantly there. My parents are there. So I'm between both, right? And the biggest dynamic so anyone listening to this, if you want to determine how a city feels about masks or vaccines or anything like that, go to a Walmart. That's what will determine everything. You can't go to Target because that's a specific demographic already. You got to go to Walmart. Because if you go to Walmart in Burlington, no one's wearing masks. And if you wear a mask, you're getting looked at. The opposite for Greensboro. I'm like, so where do I not wear a mask? I'm confused.
My in-laws live in Graham, which is now very similar dynamic.
It's even more rural than here. Yeah. Graham's housing is so cheap. That's the only place around this whole area that's cheap because Burlington's stupid expensive. Greensboro is pretty pricey now too, and like Graham's actually not that bad. But you're in the middle of nowhere, so.
But the amazing thing though is it's still, you can still be in Greensboro in 25 minutes, and I think that's to me that's the real attractive, or one of the many attractive, beautiful things about our community is like the infrastructure is so phenomenal. You can be in an amazing city even if you live, many miles away.
Wow. Wait, so you said the manufacturing for the clothing of Jocko Willink's in Asheboro?
Yeah. So they have a company where they make like geese and other clothing,
and it's all handmade and or not handmade, but like crafted, all that stuff.
And so the company's name is Origin.
Yeah, I heard of it.
They bought a clothing manufacturer in Asheboro called Wells Hosiery and Apparel, about a couple months or so ago.
I'm gonna have to connect my way
Yeah,
there, 'cause
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
huge fan of his. But man, that's crazy. That's
Yeah, small world. So.
very small world. Hey, North Carolina has a big supply of land. We have land, and we have people. Well, maybe not right now. Nowhere is people willing to work right now. But I was gonna say we have people ready to work, but not.
Yeah,
as
there,
much.
yeah, there are jobs aplenty.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, the opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
there are a lot more jobs than people. It seems to be nowadays.
How do we fix this? Everyone wants to. No one wants to work.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy dynamic. I tend to think that that's going to kind of level out as time progresses, and
hope so.
hopefully it won't result in there being crazy inflation such that people's wages jump up, but everything else is 15-20% more expensive.
I already see it coming, and how I knew it was coming is I drove by McDonald's one random day just to get my niece some food, and they're now paying like 10, 11. And if you think about that, I'm like, okay, so if they're gonna start doing that, Wendy's, everything else is gonna start doing that. Everything gets paid more, but then that means movie tickets are gonna go up. All the other stuff's gonna go up. I'm just like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I've as attorney kind of represented some franchise owners of McDonald's, and
Really?
I asked them a question like, how is this affecting your business?
In North Carolina?
In North Carolina.
Greensboro?
Not Greensboro.
Okay, I was gonna say I used to work for McDonald's. That's my first job. See, I might know that guy.
Not Greensboro. But asking them about it, and they're like, it's not affecting us terribly much because we're moving and have moved so much more towards automation. So while we may have to pay fewer employees more, overall our cost isn't exponentially more.
But that's a lot of lost jobs.
Exactly. And so those are the types of things where, we got to be really, really mindful and looking to the future and making sure that people here, hopefully you're not working at a McDonald's necessarily the entirety of your career, but you're creating the artificial intelligence that's driving the technology that's making that burger get flipped that more efficiently and to people who need it.
The future is interesting, man.
Yeah. We just need a plan for it and make it happen.
Yeah, we got to figure out not to go with it and not to go to stay stagnant.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, if you don't do it, your community is going to suffer a lot. I mean, personally, I think I mentioned I'm originally from Buffalo, New York.
Yep.
My father, he, you're talking 20, 30 years ago, had a great manufacturing job. I mean, he worked really hard, but
course.
he earned, a fair pay for a day's labor. And then that factory job just disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
And that community wasn't prepared in terms of having other jobs and focusing on innovation. And my father had to take one of the few jobs that were available at the time, and that was as a garbage man. And so,
in Buffalo?
In Buffalo.
That's cold, man.
Yeah. Who you telling?
That's tough.
Who you telling?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's one of those things where I learned a lot about the significance of choice through his difficult decision and what it means to kind of work hard and get knocked down and get back up. But I will tell you, my hope and dream for our community is that there are jobs such that people don't have to make that tough of a choice when they're thrown challenges. And so,
I like that.
We can do that. Other communities have done it. I would love for somebody to go from being working at a factory to working on coding.
Oh, yeah.
Working on things in innovation.
You have two kids, right?
Yeah.
Oh, one's 10 and the other.
Yeah. So our 10-year-old Clark and our 8-year-old little girl Clara.
Gotcha. So in an ideal world, they're going to college or whatever, or even not going to college. Just ideally, what would you want them to be like? What industry would you want them to be more focused on?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
So for me, I would like for them to obviously be in a position where they can provide for themselves.
Right.
But I would love for them to find something at the intersection of their passion and something that the market values.
Yeah.
And so that's, if you're really, really good at your job and you're willing to move, you can do those things. And so we're trying to teach them and understand, to understand that. But selfishly, I want them doing it in Greensboro. So, the fight is that they have opportunities to do it here. And so we see less of what we've seen, in Greensboro the past 10, 15 years, which were, young people taking their dreams and their skills elsewhere.
Yeah.
The Raleigh, the Charlotte, the Durham,
Yeah, it's hard being a parent. Can't imagine.
Yeah, it's great though.
I'm scared.
It's great though.
I'm
man,
still way too young. I'm 24. I got like
You got time. You got time.
like 6-7 more years.
You got time.
You had your first kid when you were 28.
That's right. That's right.
That's a good
But
year.
I'll say, Loon. I was also married at like 24. So I'm just
Married
saying.
at 24.
Yeah, yeah.
But she was also 24.
True. And we met
I'm
as
dating a younger
and we met as teenagers in college. So
Yeah. Wow, man, that's a long time commitment.
Yeah.
College, bro.
Yeah. When you find the right one.
Yeah,
you know,
no, I
pull
get
the
it,
trigger.
brother.
What's the saying? Doesn't take all day to recognize sunshine.
Yeah.
You know.
That's big. That's big move, especially for a guy, man. We're interesting creatures. That's a big move, man.
Indeed. Well put. Well
Yeah.
put.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for coming today. Everyone out there, I want to shout out your social medias, your website. It's Vote Outling, right?
That's right.
VoteOutling.com.
That's right. Vote
All right, so you guys can go there, donate if you guys liked his conversation, like him as a candidate, especially for like the Greensboro watchers out there. If you guys liked him for any reason, make sure you guys go out to the polls. I believe the day the primary is March 8th.
That's it.
All right.
March 8th.
And then the election is moved. The actual election after primaries is November 8th of next year.
No, so actually, the general election will be, I believe it's April 26th or May 17th.
Well, that's sooner than I thought.
Depending on whether or not there's a runoff in some other races. But we know it's going to be primary on March 8th, so I encourage everybody to, if you live in Greensboro, make sure you go vote.
Yeah,
if you know
don't be lazy.
Yeah, don't be lazy. If you know someone in Greensboro, give them the push that they need, perhaps, to go vote on March 8th.
And I'm not swaying you either way. I like Justin. I don't know who I'm voting for yet, but I so far this conversation has been great. And you seem like a guy who can speak well, and you have some, what is it called, futuristic thinking, which I like because I'm also like that. I invested in Tesla. I was very happy about that. Yeah, a long time ago too. So yeah, man. Hey, thanks for coming out. What's your Instagram handle, by the way?
Yeah, Instagram is also Vote Outling. You can check us out on Facebook and the like, J Outling. Just look us up. Google, use the Google machine.
Yeah,
and
Justin Outling.
Check
guys.
us out on social media.
All right, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
It's a wrap. I'll see you guys next week. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
That was a wrap, man. Good job.